So now we're advancing into something a bit more complex, which you encounter when you're doing your welding and fractions and so on. Here's the situation now. What if you had 4 fractions? How could we determine the common denominator? Now, our last trick that we call Zorro, well, it's not a trick, it's a mathematical certainty, is you can use it in a sort of a smaller scale to test what you're looking at. And this is now a method that we would call a composite number. A composite number. And how do we get it? How could we use this composite number to figure out what might be the LCD? Now you notice there's a 2, 3, 4, and 6. Some fairly straightforward numbers. They're not too heavy to make it complicated. So what we would do is you can go and test a couple of numbers. You could say, okay, I'm going to test for the product of 2 times 3 times 4. You notice what I did is I picked the first 3 numbers just to see what would happen. Now if you test them out and you multiply them, 2, 3, 6, 6, 4 is 24. You then ask, is this a possible lowest common denominator? Well, the only way you would know is if you were to go and check each one. So can 2 go into 24? Yes. 3 goes into 24? Absolutely. 4 goes into 24? Magic. And the 6 go into 24 also. So without trying, without getting into a lot of arm wrestling, you've just discovered that this is a possible LCD. And you can use it. So here's an example. Suppose we had to add these fractions up. We would say that 24 is my lowest common denominator. And then you go and do the division technique that we showed you in the early example. So 2 goes into 24 12 times. 12 times 1 is 12. 3 goes into 24 8 times. So 8 times 1. 4 goes into 24 6 times. 6 times the 1. And then last but not least, 6 goes into 24 4 times. 4 times the 1. And guess what? You add up all the terms in the top or the numerator. So 12 and 8, 20, and 6, 26, and 4, 30. So it becomes 30 over 24. Now you know that your instructors are not going to allow you to get away with that. 30 over 24, you can do something with it. Now you're supposed to know from your, factor in days that you can divide the top and the bottom by a certain common number. And what number would that be? It will be 6. So you can divide both top and bottom and reduce it. So you always want to go into the lowest possible terms. 6 5s is 30, and 6 4s is 24, and there's your answer. Because you're going to go on and do decimals, just for a little bit of, showing you one other thing, this would be 1 1/4. How do you know? Because 4 goes into 5 one time, and there's 1 left over. That's why it's 1 1/4. And just to finish up, 1.25, because a quarter is also 0.25, and you can use that when we go on to our business with decimals and with percentages. All right, so try that out for the next one.